Hello, and welcome to the Pest Control Marketing Podcast with your host, me, Hal Coleman, uncensored and unplugged. Pay attention, take lots of notes, because you're going to find out exactly how to get more new customers, more referrals, and grow your business.
Hal Coleman has been active in the pest control industry for over 40 years, including owning and operating his own successful pest control business for 18 years. He now devotes his time to helping other PCOs and other WCOs double, triple, and even quadruple their businesses faster than they ever imagined. Be sure to check out his website, pestcontrolmarketer.com. For more information about Hal's coaching program, you can reach him at 770-993-0004 or email him hal@halcoleman.com. Mike Stewart is known as the Internet audio and video guy. Since the birth of the Internet, Mike has been showing small business owners how to get more new customers, increase their sales, and grow their businesses online using audio and video, now with iPhones and Android phones. For more information about Mike's coaching program and his online training courses, visit MikeStewartCoaching.com or email him mike@internetaudioguide.com.
Well, hello again, folks. This is Hal Coleman with yet another episode of the Pest Control Marketing Podcast, here to help you grow your business and get it on a faster track. And I'm here again with my friend, my mentor, my business associate, the Internet marketing wizard of all time, Mike Stewart. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great, Hal. Glad to be here. And thank you for calling me the marketing wizard. I've been known as the audio video guy, but marketing is everything. We've got.
Well, it's better than if I'd had to say you're the marketing lizard.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. But Mike, you know, we refer to me a lot of times as Mr. Offline, and you're Mr. Online, and together I think we make a great combination, because everything I do pertains. Not everything, but most of it, to online as well as offline. It's all marketing. It's all selling, just two different vehicles there. But what I want to talk about today may be a little more offline than online, and that is cloverleafing. Now, you being online, is that a term people use online?
No, until you told me about it, I had never heard that term, and I think it's probably going to really pertain to being in the physical real world when you're out working, with real live customers. And so why don't you define it and talk about, here's what I want to know. I want to know, what is it, how to do it, what did you do it when you had your business, and what were the results? And there's 4 good questions from a dummy. So go for it.
Some people listening might think, well, why does Mike not know what cloverleafing is? But the fact is, Mike, a lot of people may not realize you have never owned nor worked for a bricks and mortar business, really.
No.
I mean, you, except for your recording studio but still it was not something where you would have had any experience cloverleafing. It's definitely an offline term. And folks, if there is anybody that doesn't know what cloverleafing is, it's simply when you get a new customer or you have a current customer, it's going marketing to the 2 people across the street and the people on the one house on either side. You got 2 next door neighbors, one on either side, and you got 2 across the street neighbors. So that's like a 4-leaf clover. And I tell people a lot, Mike, that the easiest person to sell something to is the next door neighbor of one of your current customers, because just the fact that your neighbor is doing business with them is there's a certain level of confidence and security there. Well, a lot of it is because of what's known as the law of conformity. We get our strengths and identities from groups and the people who we associate with. So there's a subconscious level there that says, well, if my neighbor's doing business with them, or if they're good enough for my neighbor, then they're probably good enough for me too. Or if my neighbor's made that choice, I should make that choice too. So, but there are things that you can do, ways to reach out to next door neighbors, and a lot of people, when I began to talk to them about cloverleafing, a lot of my clients are on my 1 hour coaching call that I do with people, my free session. They'll say, well, no, our city's got an ordinance where you can't knock on doors in a neighborhood, you can't canvass in neighborhoods, and that's okay, but there is really no ordinance that I know of. There may be one that says you can't knock on the next door neighbor's door of your customer. And there are a lot of things you can do to make that more effective too. So I want to talk about a few. I just want to kind of run down a list here I don't have this written down. You and I never have anything written down when we do these podcasts, because we're just having a conversation, sharing what comes into our head mainly. But let's suppose that you have a new customer, and his name is Fred Johnson, and now he's your customer, he's your happy customer, and you would like to approach Fred Johnson's next door neighbor to see if they might become a customer of yours. So there's several things to do. The very first thing I would do is I would say, Mr. Johnson, I want to now I'm just creating a scenario here, okay? Because there are exceptions to everything, and somebody will hear what I say and they'll say, no, you couldn't do that. Mine. So yeah, maybe you couldn't in some circumstances, but I'm just going to give you some good guidelines here. These are guidelines. Number one, I would say, Mr. Johnson, I want to go over and talk to your next door neighbor and make sure they're not having the same problem you're having. Now, especially if we're talking with termites here, okay? Because, a colony of termites can easily be infesting two homes at the same time, especially in certain neighborhoods where the houses are so close together that you got to turn sideways to walk in between them almost, So, Mr. Johnson, I want to go over and talk to your next door neighbor. Do you know his name? Yeah, his name is John Smith. I'd like to go over and touch base with him and let him make sure he doesn't have the same problem you have. Would it be an imposition if you could help me out? Is there any way that you could walk over there and introduce me to him? Now, in a lot of cases, they're going to say, sure, man, let me put my shoes on here. Let's go. I know if somebody came and did a service for me, and then they said, I think your next door neighbor has the same problem. Maybe would you mind going over there and introducing? I would say, come follow me. I'd be trotting right over there with them. There's no better way to gain credibility than to go to the door and there's the neighbor introducing you, saying he just treated my home and I think you ought to let him look at your home. Now, if they say, no, I can't go over there, I'd rather not do that. Was there any way you could just call them? I don't want to show up at their door and have them think I'm an axe murderer. So if they don't walk over there with you, maybe they'll give them a call, maybe. But if that's not possible, if they say, no, I don't know my next door neighbor, you say, okay, well, I'm gonna walk over there and talk to them, and if you don't mind, I'm gonna tell them you're my customer, so they don't know I'm an axe murderer. And I love the axe murderer line because it's humorous, but everybody gets it. They understand why it's important to have an introduction, and so. Walk over there and knock on the door and say, I'm Hal Coleman with Hal's Exterminating, and then turn. Very important that you turn and face Fred Johnson's house and say, your neighbor Fred Johnson is my customer, and has an issue with termites, and I told him I was going to come talk to you because I want to make sure you don't have them also. And if you'd like, I would really like to do an inspection. It won't cost you anything. It's free. I'm just not here to pressure you. I just want to do a free inspection to make sure you don't have this problem. So if they say, no, you can't do that, well, could I leave you and you have your literature there in your hand, your pamphlet, your card, may I leave you with this in case you do ever have a pest issue? Sure, you can leave it with me. And if they're not even there, leave something in the door. I mean, there's just all kinds of steps here. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. If step 1 doesn't work, go to step 2. If step 2 doesn't work, go to step 3. But if you go to the neighbors across the street, and on either side, you will find there's a ton of business there. And I talked to a lot of PCOs, WCOs, who they never do that. They don't do it for various reasons. Don't have time, don't feel comfortable doing it. Maybe there's an ordinance, but there's no ordinance against somebody introducing somebody else to their next door neighbor. Okay, so nobody's going to bother you, I don't believe, for doing that. Now they might if you're going all over the neighborhood, door to door to door to door to door, but and your truck is not even there with you. So, but reach out to those neighbors on either side and across the street. And I had a guy tell me one time, when I go across the street, he said, what I do is I just will ask my customer, say, I'm going to be walking straight. Do you know the person across the street? Yeah. Her name is Brenda Johnson. Okay. I'm going to walk over there and speak to her. And if you, just so she doesn't think I'm an axe murderer, would you do me a huge favor and just stand here at the door until I knock on her door? I'll run straight over there. And he said, he would knock on the door, they would come to the door, and he would immediately turn and point across the street and say, your neighbor, Fred Johnson, and they would look across, and there's Fred waving at him from his front door over there. And he said, man, you're in like Flint then, because he said they're not going to want to be rude to you and slam the door in your face because it makes Fred look, it's offensive to Fred, you see. So there's a lot of psychology that you can use there too. And have an offer that they can't refuse. In other words, we're offering all of Hal's neighbors or all of Fred's neighbors 3 months free pest control, or we're offering them a free this or a free that, something that, not 10% off, because nobody even knows what that means, and 10% is really nothing anyway. I mean, offer them something they can't refuse because they are Fred Johnson's neighbor, you see. So if you will do this and learn how to get comfortable communicating at the doors like that, you will find some great business there that's just waiting on you to show up, because a lot of people are having bug problems or pest problems, and they don't know what to do about it. And they don't know a pest control company, and maybe they've heard bad things about pest control companies. Maybe they're afraid of getting ripped off. Maybe they're afraid an axe murderer will show up. I don't know, but there are a lot of people who have problems and they don't know what to do about it. It's just the same as people who have problems with their roof and they don't know what to do about it. They have psychological, mental problems. They don't know what to do about it. They got family problems. They don't know what to do about it. They got insurance. They don't have insurance and they know they need it. That people have all kind of needs and issues in their lives, and sometimes it's a matter of the right person shows up at the right time, and you're in like Flint. And I was discussing this in a Facebook group a while back, and some guy chimed in. He said, "Have you ever bought anything from anybody at the doors?" And I said, "Yeah. The last thing I bought was a tree service. Guy showed up. They were cutting trees for the lady across the street." And he showed up and said, "Hey, we're in your neighborhood. We're doing some trees. Got any trees that you have questions about, or that you might like to have taken down?" And you know what my 2 words I said to him were, Mike?
What?
Follow me. Follow me. And I went right around back and showed him a dead tree that I'd been concerned about, and I needed to have it taken down. And the thing about it is, Mike, this is how this works. I have a tree guy that I've used for years. I call him. He's been out to my property in the last 25 years, probably 5 times to take down a tree or some trees or a dead limb or something. I have a tree guy, but I'm thinking, now here's a tree guy at my door with a chainsaw in his hand, basically. And if I call my guy, I'll have to wait for him to come back. It usually takes him several days to get there. He's got to come look at it, and we go through all this rigmarole and everything. I've got a guy standing right here on my porch ready to take that tree down. So I'm just going to let him take it down. So he took it down, gave me a great price. Even though I had my own tree guy, it was so much simpler just to let this guy go take it down. So, yes, it's being at the right place at the right time when there's a problem or an issue, and you show up on the doorstep to solve it, and somebody says, follow me. Follow me. Let me show you what's going on in my basement. Let me show you what's going on in my dining room. It's got paint peeling off the wall in here. There's all kind of things that you can stumble into if you reach out to those neighbors of your current customers. So does that ring any bells with you, Mike, about the online world or any marketing scenarios that might be similar in that world?
Well, sure. There's some things that come to mind. You have to ask yourself, is everyone in your organization cloverleafing? Meaning that you're in a neighborhood, your truck is parked there, you just got done hopefully making a customer happy. You can either get back in your truck and go to the next customer and do that day in and day out and never talk to the other 4 houses that make the cloverleaf. Or you can make this a priority that you're going to get to know people. And I used to have a client named Chuck Reeves, and the name of his company was 21 Associates. And I asked Chuck, why do you name your company 21 Associates? He says, you got to get 20 no's to get a yes on average.
And now here's a word from our sponsor.
Google Pest Control Marketing. Grow your business like never before. Call 770-993-0004.
Did you hear that? That is a jingle. But more than that, it is an audio logo and what I call a marketing earworm. But that's a bug, that's a worm you want in your local market on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, and podcasts like you're listening to right now. Yes, you should do a podcast as a PCO, but we'll talk about that another time. You want your market singing Google your name, what you do, and your phone number. Simple, but it works. If you want to cash in on this marketing bonanza, go to pestcontrolmarketingjingles.com to learn more. Or just call me, Mike Stewart, at 770-826-3662, or call Hal Coleman at 770-993-0004. And we would love to show you how to do what we call search and call advertising with earworms. And oh yeah, it works on that old-timey technology of radio and television. Why don't you call us today and learn more?
Google Pest Control Marketing. Grow your business like never before. Call 770-993-0004.
I used to have a client named Chuck Reeves, and the name of his company was 21 Associates. And I asked Chuck, why do you name your company 21 Associates? He says, you got to get 20 no's to get a yes on average.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I said, well, that's interesting. He said, the people who are willing to be consistent and persistent, asking for yeses, statistically cannot not get a yes. So that means if you cloverleaf 5 houses a day, what's the average route for a tech?
It can be anywhere from 8 to 18. I mean, 12, 14 is a pretty good average. But here's the thing. It's a lot of times going to be a 2-man effort, because the guy who's got 14, the route technician who's got 14 or 16 stops set up, and they're all scheduled throughout the day, he doesn't have time to do a service and then run across the street and knock on doors. He's got to haul butt to get to his next service on time. So it's kind of sometimes it's a 2-man operation where 2 guys ride together and one's servicing the houses and the other one is over there knocking on the doors of the neighbors. Or you can go back. You could take another day, like a Saturday, and just say, I'm going to pick, 8 of my customers today, and I'm going to go and I'm going to cloverleaf their neighbors. So it doesn't work well for a technician to do it while he's out on his route, because there's just no time to do it.
Well, but the point is, somebody needs to do it if you're not doing it. And it's an average, it's an average thing. And of course, one of the things I would make a recommendation is that obviously, 2 things that I heard that I want to mention. Number one, you want to make sure that your print material references specials, discounts, offers, and other services. In other words, one of the things I was thinking about is that, some people probably already, like you said, you already had a tree guy. Well, they probably already have a pest termite contract. And of course, their objection is, well, I've already got somebody that takes care of that. No, thank you. But if you start offering other money-making opportunities, mosquitoes, wildlife, we had one company in Atlanta that started doing aerating, seeding, and lawn care. So in other words, in fact, we have one PCO that does Christmas decorations. And see, all of that stuff is in their brochure information. So even though you may not get a termite customer, you might get a Christmas decoration or a lawn care or a seeding. In other words, if you're doing these other services to increase your revenue and you're not letting people through the Cloverleaf opportunity and tying it back to the internet, making sure that you have web pages about it. One of the most phenomenal things you can do in print now is what's called a QR code. All you got to do is hold your camera at a QR code, and you can take people on their phones to any offer on the internet that you want to. You can take them to videos that explain the offer. This is the difference between being proactive or not. And if you're already in the neighborhood, what's the time is it going to take to get for the second person or the person who's responsible for it? How long is it going to take to leave some information and knock on 4 doors? That just seems like that's an obvious. If it's a 2-man team, that guy's job is invaluable. If he was able to knock on, let's say, if there's 10 stops, that's 40 knocks a day.
Yep.
And if he was at 45 knocks, according to Chuck, you would get 2 new customers every day of every week of every year. Now, what's the value of that to you? My gosh.
Oh yeah, it's incredibly valuable, and it's those are easy customers. They're the neighbors of your current customers, and there's a lot of business laying there. To be had. And, you mentioned, I've already got a termite customer. My next question would be, are you 110% happy with them? Now, I've had people in the past that say, I ask them if they're happy. I ask them if they're happy. They always say yes. I said, well, look, ask them this question. Are you 110% happy? He said, I started asking them if they were 110% happy. And a lot of them now they say, well, no, I'm not 110% happy. Well, why not? And then he said, then they proceed to tell me a problem they're having with the company they're with. I said, well, you wouldn't have that problem with me because this is what we do. So you find that a lot of them do have somebody, but they're not happy. Because, see, this is human nature, Mike. It's a relationship. It's just like a couple can be, let's just say a man and a woman are going together. They're dating, and that's what we're doing with our customers is dating them, and they're going along okay till all of a sudden somebody shows up and notices this lady and comes up and says the right thing at the right time and says, I want her for mine. And they begin to compete for her affections, and next thing you know, she has left the person she was with and she has gone with this new person. So it's the same thing, if the only reason people should stay with a service provider is if they're happy and the person's providing everything they need, physically and mentally, and they're taking care of the problem. And there are a lot of people who have pest control services that they can't stand the people, but they need the pest control service, but say, I don't like that person, got a bad attitude, they show up late, I just cringe when I see them coming, but I need them. You see, on a case like that, it's real easy to get them to persuade them just to dump the person that they don't really like and go with you. We're competing for customers out there. So just because somebody has a service doesn't necessarily mean they're happy with that service. And if you can provide a better service and treat them with more respect and treat them nicer and be more compelling and more attractive, then bang, all of a sudden they're canceling their old service and they're going with you. So it's competition. It's all about competition.
Well,
so anyway.
More importantly, if you don't ask, you won't get. And I'll tell you something you should ask of Hal Coleman. You should ask to get a 1-hour consultation with him. And all you got to do to find out how good Hal is and how great he is at helping you build and grow your business, just call him for his 1-hour free consultation at 770-993-0004. I'm telling you, you'll be glad you did. You don't know what you don't know, and the only way you're going to find out is ask questions from somebody who's the expert. Hal's the expert. For a 1 free hour to find out if you're a good fit, 770-993-0004.
And Mike Stewart will do the same thing, too, and you can reach him at 770-826-3662. That's 770-826-3662. Take him up on the same offer. Mike will spend time with you. Look at your website, your online marketing, and everything you're doing there, and point you in some directions that you didn't even know existed. I guarantee if you call him and spend time, you'll come away from the call saying, man, I really learned some cool stuff about my online marketing. And it won't cost you a penny to have that phone call either, will it, Mike?
No. We want to give first to make sure it's a good fit, and you have no risk reversal, meaning that let's get to know each other. We don't expect you to marry us until we've had a good first date, and so and marketing is like dating. It's like you got to get to know each other. You got to know, like, and trust each other. And so, as far as that goes, Hal, I think we've covered cloverleafing, and what you do is when you're out there cloverleafing and doing leave behinds, you tie it to your online marketing. That's where offline and online can bridge the gap. And I am out of here.
Well, I'm going to follow you, Mike. Folks, thanks again for listening to this episode of the Pest Control Marketing Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Pest Control Marketing Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast in iTunes and on your phones and in Stitcher on your Android. But more importantly, go to our website, pestcontrolmarketingpodcast.com. Subscribe to our email list to always be notified of new episodes. You're never going to want to miss what we got coming up next, and you never know what we're going to be able to do to help you with your pest control marketing.